morning. Welcome to this 15th edition of the North Atlantic Seafood Forum. 15 times, it's a tradition, and some of us have been a long time since, so I can see some faces who are really from the beginning. My name is Guus Pastoor. I chair the European Processors Association, APSI, and we have an office in Brussels, and we operate through three main pillars. One is market supply, the other is regulations, think of food law, things like that, and the other one is sustainability. And what we try to do is to influence those who take the decisions to think about the processes and the traders who are actually employing a lot of people and generating a lot of economic activities. My role today is to guide you through the third part of this morning, and I think we have some very interesting speakers coming up. We are living in quite uncertain and maybe even some strange times, and we tend to think that's something new. That's always the moment when I think you should look back into history and see whether or not things have been popping up before. And when I'm thinking about it, I crossed an article, and it was about a little booklet, and I'm an economist, so I learned about it a long time ago, but I'd forgotten. It's a booklet from 1798, and it was written by a certain Mr. Malthus. And what he was trying to do, if I translate it into modern terms, he was trying to find out whether or not population growth could be sustainable. Could we sustain that? And his article was called An Essay on the Principles of Population. Don't read it because it's very dull. But there are some very nice graphs. And what he did was he went back to 1200 and up to the time when he was writing his book. And he sort of tried to make a relation between population and welfare. And what he found out is that every time population went up, welfare went down. And his conclusion was that growth of population can only be sustainable if it's moderate, because of lack of resources, because of lack of food. The production could not keep up with the population growth, and diseases would enter into society, and population would go down. Now, he's probably right for the part he examined. Some numbers are interesting. 10,000 years ago, we estimate there were 5 million people on this earth. Around the time of Christ, the estimation is 190 million. And around 1800, it must have been about 1 billion. So indeed, population did not grow very fast in that period. And he probably had the right point. But after 1800, things seem to have changed very rapidly. And of course, that's the Industrial Revolution which came up. The slow growth changed into rapid growth. Population went up in no time, and welfare also went up. If you look at the graphs, you can see population going up and average welfare even going faster. How come? Because we found new ways to get production going, because we had the steam engines, because we had electricity. And from that time on, the circle was broken. Population went up, welfare went up, food production went up. And if we look at the digital revolution we're in now, things will even go further. We get new things we don't even know of. We have one smartphone, and it replaces maybe 10 other things we used to have, like a navigation, like a typewriter, like anything is in there in one little thing. So the point is more from less. That's what we need to do to sustain our growth. Not so long ago, and it's maybe 15 years, many people stated that total depletion of fish stocks would come up. Many people were very pessimistic, and they predicted a total depletion because of strong overfishing. It didn't happen. It didn't happen because many people felt responsibility. They took actions, and we developed better ways to manage the fisheries. And of course, we still have some fisheries which are not okay. But on average, the prediction did not happen. So we found a way out. Now we're in the climate debate and the energy transition. And again, many people are very pessimistic. There are very gloomy outlooks out there. And seafood is very much related to the state of nature. So we're very vulnerable in this sense. But if we look back in history, I think we just hope that we again will find clever people who will be able to change and will be able to change things in such a way that we can indeed go on with what we want to do and with our lives and with our production. We have a common responsibility to find these solutions and develop these new methods. Then, of course, we have the shorter term challenges facing our business. Just to mention some, Brexit. The nice word Brexit will come back, I guess, the next days. We have a Brexit, but we don't have an agreement. So what's going to happen with the trade? What's going to happen with the fisheries? We don't know. What's going on with the trade between America and China, between America and the EU? Is it a trade agreement or a trade war? We don't know yet. We have spatial planning problems in the coastal waters, where we have windmills, where we have gas and energy, and fishing. And fishing is the smallest economic activity, so not the strongest one. And we have the possible and certainly the economic impact of the coronavirus. All these things are all on our mind. But despite all these issues, and that's why I'm going towards a more optimistic view, I believe seafood has a very great potential for further growth. We're not part of the problem. We should be part of the solution. And if produced in a sustainable manner, be it wild catch, be it aquaculture, or be it new products coming from marine resources, and we'll see those, seafood has very positive scores. We have many good points consumers should like. And if we look at a trend which is in the modern world where we can see meat consumption may go down, that brings seafood into the spotlight. And if we can change into seafood, our total environmental footprint could go down. So we have a good story to tell to the outside world. And I think that's our challenge. How do we convince consumers? How do we convince society? Because seafood consumption in the EU hasn't really grown over the last years. Every year we make a study through HC and you can see it growing up very slowly. But in money terms, it has gone up quite significantly, which means that consumers have been prepared to pay more for the fish, which means they do have a preference for certain species if we can provide them in the right way. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that's, I think, the challenge we have, and that's the theme we should be discussing over these couple of days. And we, in this morning program, will have 4 presentations which are all somewhat connected. I would say, number 1, sustainable production. Public governance with solid management systems are a basic need to secure sustainability, I'm convinced. And if you look at schemes like MSC, ASC, the first thing in there is compliance, legal compliance, assuming there are management measures. So we are very interested to hear about the management systems governments can actually put into place. And for that, our first speaker will be State Secretary Trine Danielsen, and she will inform us about the Norwegian policy. The second element would be the market. We all know seafood is the most traded commodity on a global scale, but do we really know? What do we really know about production, trade flows, and the impact of many of the trade policies? The FAO is working on many of these issues, and our second speaker will be Mr. Marcio Castro de Souza, and he will present some of the work of the FAO. Then the third element, production and products. In a very short period of time, aquaculture has grown, and consumers have easily taken up a habit and a like for this product. How did it all happen? And what defines success or failure? We have Mr. Regan Jacobsen, who will present the Bakkerfrost story. And finally, how does the seafood industry take responsibility? Not just by complying with legal obligations, but to go beyond that point and to demonstrate to society and consumers that we can actually match their expectations in terms of sustainability and responsibility. Mr. Martin Exel is here to explain the CBOS initiatives. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that's our program for this morning, and I would like to invite our first speaker, State Secretary Mrs. Trine Danielsen. from the Ministry of Fisheries and Trade, and she has a long experience in aquaculture, I've seen, also in politics, and she studied in Bergen, so she must be the right person in the right place. Can I give you the floor, please?
I can bare si, it's only 1 month as a secretary, but a long, long history of aquaculture. That's my background. Ministers, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, it's a great pleasure for me, on behalf of the Norwegian government, to welcome you to Bergen, the city of fjords and long fishing traditions. The marine city, and today the home of some of the larger seafood companies. This year, Bergen is proudly celebrating 950 years. Over the centuries, this is a clear blue thread in the city's history, based on the ocean-oriented economy. The North Atlantic Seafood Forum is also celebrating a milestone. This year it is 15 years since the startup. However, this forum is a young and talented teenager supporting the marine traditions in Norway. Let me start out by drawing the outlines of the Norwegian seafood industry. First, the Norwegian aquaculture industry. This industry is strong and global, and it will continue to develop and grow into the future. This is the nation's goal. The Norwegian government has a great ambition on behalf of the aquaculture industry, which is not a difficult position to hold. We are talking about an already eager, creative, ambitious, and forward-looking industry. To put it clearly, the industry itself is doing the hard work. They are the developers and the financial risk takers. We, the politicians, are merely providing the conditions for a sustainable growth. As we see it, developing the industry sustainably is about more than only climate and the environment. It is about cooperation and sharing knowledge between the industry, academy, and bureaucracy. Cooperation between these three partners has proven to be one of the success factors for developing the aquaculture industry into what it is today. Norway is the world's second largest seafood exporter. Naturally, ensuring market access for Norwegian seafood products is the key priority for the government. Salmon produced in Norwegian waters is exported to more than 140 markets around the world. Naturally, the industry strictly observes the requirements set in the international market. They know that the environmental consequences of the seafood production must be under control. It is about animal welfare, it is about the bottom line, and ultimately it is about the reputation of the industry. These are all concerns linked together. When choosing Norwegian salmon, the customer trusts that we produce the salmon sustainably and without suffering of the fish. Here lies the root of the salmon's reputation. People investing in the market naturally want the best return on their money. I would say, in the big picture, both the industry and the financial investors know that investing in knowledge pays the best revenue for everyone involved. I'm proud to state that the mission of developing marine knowledge is an outstanding feature of the Norwegian seafood industry, and the city of Bergen gives tremendous contribution to marine expertise, and we are proud of our scientists and the work they do for Norway, work that is recognized internationally. I move on to saying a few words on fisheries and Brexit. The United Kingdom will be an important coastal state for fisheries negotiations. Norway shares borders and fish stocks with both the UK and EU. These stocks are of great importance for the industry for all three parties. This applies in particular to the management of common stocks in the North Sea. Norway is committed to maintaining the best possible cooperation with both the UK and EU. As we speak, the negotiations on quotas and regulations are being initiated. Regarding fisheries arrangements, we have had already bilateral talks with both the UK and EU. These talks will now be a priority, and from our point of view, all three parties should meet as soon as possible. I believe we have succeeded in having a good dialogue historically. Moreover, the Fisheries Management Agreements for 2020 is valid throughout the year for all parties. We will continue to work for mutual access in each other's waters, as well as defining a new arrangements for exchange of quotas. Concerning the large pelagic populations of mackerel, herring and blue whiting, we will contribute to the UK's good incorporation into existing coastal state negotiations. In addition, we will include the UK in the relevant regional fisheries management organisations, RMFOs. I cannot talk here today without mentioning the darker side of the seafood industry. Seafood is an important part of the blue economy, yes. Seafood means basic food, work and incomes, yes. Unfortunately, transnational organized criminal networks operate in the global fishing sector, not good. These networks are undermining human rights, sustainable fisheries management, and the competitiveness of the legitimate industry. Some networks or persons, unfortunately, underpay and abuse their workers, catch fish illegally, and may increase their profit by means of fraud, corruption, and money laundering. Luckily, we are long past the days where our oceans were a place beyond laws and regulations. Today, fighting fisheries crime must be a priority for the international community. This is why we are pleased that 27 countries now support the International Declaration Against Transnational Organized Crime in the global fishing industry. The aim of the declaration is to join forces and create effective global response to this brutal offense, both to humans and to human food resources. Our goal is not only to stop the vessels from illegal fishing, but also to catch, investigate and prosecute the persons behind the crime. To do this, we must think and act globally together. Luckily, efforts against fishery crimes is gaining international momentum. In the North Atlantic, Norway is now leading the way against crime at sea. In 2013, a group of North Atlantic countries formed the North Atlantic Fisheries Intelligence Group called the NAFIG. Today, the organization is connecting law enforcement agencies from 13 North Atlantic nations. This way, they can share information about transnational organized crime in the fisheries sector and act. The organization is an inspiration to other regions in the world too, which is good. Recently, a similar fishery intelligence group was established for countries around the Pacific Ocean, which is of importance. International problems demand international solutions and international cooperation. We must do all our part. Our fishermen, coastal populations, and law-abiding industry deserve a blue economy free of fishery crimes. It is also important to continue to work to solve the plastic pollution in the ocean, which we are facing, but I'm sure this will be addressed later today or during these meetings. Next topic. I will continue to my last topic by asking a question. Do we expect production to grow? If yes, how should it grow? My answer is yes. We will continue to grow, and thanks to fish farming. However, the industry has a clear responsibility to operate sustainably and solve environmental challenges and issues as they go. Norwegian aquaculture of salmon and trout is a story of success. Still, we are experiencing some difficulties with environmental challenges in the industry. In 2017, a new national system of enable environmental sustainable growth was put into effect. The system today is based on the sea lice concentration on wild-caught salmon and is described in the following manner. 1. grouping the Norwegian coast into production areas, defining whether to grow or not by environmental indicators, and 3, describing the status of the challenge by traffic light system for growth. For 2020, it is the 3rd time the traffic lights are turned on the coast. The traffic light program says green for growth, yellow for standby, red for reduced growth. The regulations are based on scientific calculations. Unfortunately, this year, it's the first time the production capacity in 2 red production areas will be reduced. This is negative for the industry and a loss for the nation. The new regulations are an effort to allow the industry to grow only in the areas where it is environmentally sustainable. We aim to sustain or reduce the impact of sea lice on wild salmon where it is necessary. New farming concepts and new technology can contribute to decrease the industry's environmental impact, as well as release new areas for aquaculture in the fjords and in the open ocean. I'm glad to say that in Norway these days, new and exciting operating concepts are now in the making, both onshore, offshore, in open, semi and closed contained systems. New innovative concepts will continue to strengthen the already world-leading aquaculture supplier industry as well, for now and forever, if we do it right. I'm about to finish and I will sum it up. There is a rising demand for nutritional seafood. It is our responsibility to produce seafood sustainable. Sharing knowledge and competence creates the foundation for new ideas, new values and jobs. Our government will continue to be an active supporter for the seafood industry and the fisheries and try to stimulate development. We are continuously working to develop and improve the industry's framework conditions to strengthen the competitive forces. However, the industry sits in the driver's seat. We, the politicians and the bureaucracy, are in the back. I have confidence in you, and I am proud of the Norwegian fisheries and the aquaculture production. Definitively, it is an ocean of opportunities out there. So I wish you all a successful conference. Thank you.